Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, we're going to begin the funeral services for Seth and Knobel. Please be sure that your cell phones have been turned off. When the family enters the chapel, we'll ask everyone to rise and stand in place, and then you'll be seated as one community. Just as a last and gentle reminder, please be sure your phones are off. Rabbi Lisa Green from North Shore Congregation, Israel, will be officiating.
I may be here with a title. I may be here as Alyssa, Jeremy, Heather, and Stephen's rabbi, but I'm here as a friend. Many generations of Green, Knobel, friendship and history and love. And so I stand here today as me, but with my father, Rabbi Barry Green, on one shoulder, and with Peter Knobel on the other. My father was heavier, it was a harder, heavier shoulder. But them, two of them, sharing wisdom as we proceed. To the living, death is a wound. Its name is grief. Its companion is loneliness. Whenever it comes, whatever its guise, when there are no tears, death is a wound. But death belongs to life as night belongs to day, as darkness belongs to light, as shadows belong to substance, as the fallen leaf to the tree. Death belongs to life. It is not our purpose to live forever, it is only our purpose to live. It is of merit that one's life is good. We gather this morning with the deepest of sadness. We should not, don't want to be, we didn't expect to be. We should not be here. Seth was taken from you way too soon, and the loss leaves a gaping hole. And we gather with deep sadness and mourning, and we gather too with gratitude for his life, his larger than life, a life in which he wanted to help and did help and share kindness and laughter from jokes appropriate and not. But he touched your lives and our lives and this world with great kindness. And so we offer gratitude. As we praise you this day, O God, we think of those whose death devastated our lives. We feel the bonds that tied us together, the love that we shared, and the memories that remain with us still. We thank you for the gift of their lives. What are we, O God, that you should care for us? Our days are like a fleeting shadow, a wistful sigh, the whisper of the wind. So teach us to treasure each day of our life as a precious gift from our Creator, and to treasure all whom we love today and every day. As we gather with grief and sadness this morning, we gather with deep gratitude for Seth, for his life. Let us hear his voice, let us live examples of kindness and express that gratitude as we do. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be, and oh, to lose. A thing for fools, this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing. Death will come, its hand will not be stayed even an instant, nor can we enter into judgment with it. Our question why will go unanswered. But this does not mean that we are helpless in the face of death. We can and we do rob death of ultimate victory by living life as long as it is ours to live. To ask of death that it never come is futile. But it is not futility to pray that when death does come for us, it will take us from a world, one corner of which is a little better because we were there. When we are dead and people weep for us and grieve, let it be because we touched their lives with beauty and simplicity. Let it not be said that life was good to us, but rather that we were good to life. So we turn to the voice of our sacred scriptures, giving us the ever new message of God's nearness. I invite you to join with me in the words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And the psalmist wrote, Esa enai el heharim me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Hayiten lamut raglecha al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomei Yisrael. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. An ancient people, we are well acquainted with grief and the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us. Yet our tradition and the years have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave. With Job, we said, Adonai Natan, God, you've given. You gave us a loved one who will not be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in Seth's life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai Lakach, God, you've taken away. We pray for strength, and we say, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach, blessed be God's name now and forever. We come to this time and place with our thoughts, with our memories, with our prayers. I invite you to pause for a silent prayer and reflection. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our rock and our redeemer. Leah, Alana, Lily, and Oliver, I'm sorry. This is the most excruciating day, and many excruciating days to come, but you are not walking them alone. Jeremy, you may be a bit older, but I will tell you the same thing. You are not walking these days alone. To all of you, to Alyssa, Heather, Stephen, Judy, and Tom, Howard and Janet, and to all the cousins, to all of you who loved Seth, this is one difficult journey. Silly of me to say it, you know it, but you're here, and we're here. And we shouldn't be here. We are here for the man everybody loved, the one who'd give his shirt off his back, even on a cold day like today, I'm sure, or to give anything he could to help anybody else. Our hearts are broken. Seth had kind of two hearts, I feel like. The big heart of compassion, that swelling, beautiful heart that touched with the world with kindness. And then the physical heart in his body that wasn't strong, that could not remain whole. And so here we are with utter sadness, grief, and love. As Seth was larger than life, his presence filling a space, his spirit impacting all with love, his desire to break the rules and have fun, kind of think he's gonna walk in and laugh right now. It's difficult to imagine him not being here with all of you. He was the rebel who was fun to be around, but he's not here. He should be here. You, his children, the loves of his life are here. You, his brother, his partner, and all things. Crazy from childhood and onward. And we gather too, let's name it, on what seems like the day after Peter and Elaine were laid to rest. Not really, but it feels that way. And that is an excruciating set of losses for all of you. Jeremy, I know you feel that the most powerfully, of course. Leah, Alana, Lily, and Oliver, your dad adored you. You know this. He would do anything from you, and he rejoiced in you from your first moments. Leah and Alana, your uncle was telling me about when you were little and Dad would throw parties and just be around you with such joy from those earliest days. And then he's taken such joy in you as the adults that you are, making your choices, living your goals, and moving into adulthood with such independence. And I know your recent conversations with Dad. Good conversations meant the world to him. Lily and Oliver, as you talked yesterday about fishing and Dad's patience with you when you were impatient, and him wanting to show you something he loved, I feel like that speaks to so many things. Certainly his emceeing your swim meets and adding his big voice to fill the space was something you loved. And those occasions when he assured you that Daddy would fix it, bringing down your worry because he was there. All of you can speak to moments of love, I'm sure moments of challenge, and moments of Dad embarrassing you deliberately with his inappropriate jokes or winning over your friends, like taking you out for hot dogs on that museum field trip. You each have your stories. We're telling the cast of your birth story. Was that a lot? He took such joy in all of it, not trying to make things difficult, trying to show you his love. Jeremy, you and Seth have walked from the days in Connecticut from rambunctious kids to your adulthood, raising your kids as cousins so powerfully linked. Alyssa, your partner in all things, especially in here, honoring Seth, helping you give Seth strength at difficult times, particularly when your parents were ill. You were caring for them after they died. As you described it, Seth always had your back when you were kids, but I think you had each other's backs. You've certainly had his back in these years. You described yourselves as thick as thieves doing everything together, and as you know, I have an image of you at small kids running around like whirling dervishes in Connecticut. So that's always my image. But you were together, you were a team. He'd take the blame if you got in trouble and wouldn't let anyone pick on you. You returned that favor, too. And that was testament to each of you and to the lives your parents lived and the values that were so important to them. Seth was protective of family, we know. You didn't want to say anything about someone he loved. He'd be in your face. And he loved his parents. Whether he was near or far, he joined you in his way, Jeremy, loving your mom and your dad and worrying about them. Seth's big heart made him good at what he did. If you're a therapist with a big heart, helps. From his early days in the field, when, and Alana, you talked about him telling you stories of former gang members sleeping on his couch. Was that with you, Amy? Wow. Former gang members sleeping on the couch so they'd have a safe place to be as they were exiting. From there to his recent days working with young children on their journeys. He loved helping people. It made him happy, both as a therapist and just in life, with his own resources. Maybe not always the best decisions, but may come from the best place. It made him happy to help others. His intention was always good. To care for family, to care for friends, to care for clients. Jewish tradition speaks powerfully to kavanah, to direction and intention. We talk about it often in terms of prayer. It goes to life and how we live. Things don't always come out perfectly, don't always come out good. But our kavanah is our focus, our direction, our intention. And Seth's intention was always good. Each of us is given a number of days and years to fill as we see fit. How we do this, how we live our lives, how we fill our days, these become the treasured memories of our loved ones. And so as we reflect on Seth's life, we turn to some of you closest to the sacred story of his life, his brother Jeremy, and to his children, Leah, Alana, Lily, and Oliver. Jeremy.
Family and friends, appreciate you being here for my family. Alyssa, his sister-in-law, Heather, his niece, Stephen, his nephew, Seth's kids, Leah, Alana, Leah, Lily, Oliver, and of course me. It's been a hard several years for the Knobel family, which includes his first cousins, Michelle, Lauren, Scott, and Dana, his uncles and aunts, Judy and Tom, Howard and Janet, and Donald, plus many more extended cousins who are mourning Seth's early departure. Thank you for being here and also on the live stream. I also want to thank everyone who wrote such nice posts about Seth. It shows how many people really cared about him. And lastly, the most important, I want to thank my wife for standing next to me, as always. who knows how to get things done. And in this time, no exceptions. So thank you for always being there for me, especially Seth when he needs you. And taking care of arrangements of this funeral. We lost Dad in 2019 and Mom in 2020, and now my brother. There's a saying that things happen for a reason, but this is one of those times that doesn't make any real sense. To me, 55 years is way too young for anyone to be in the book of life. If Seth was here, he would have started off with an inappropriate joke. So let's do the same thing. Here's one of his favorites. 3 naked ladies walked into a bar. Sorry, Leah. You can still use it. The good thing for everyone is Seth never told me the punchline.
Leah.
Maybe Leah knows the punchline. For those who knew Seth, he was the life of the party. He had a big personality, and he loved to meet new people. Within minutes, he knew their entire life story. Seth recently came in town, which now I am extremely grateful. And he was waiting for me at the bar, and he met this young couple, and by the time I got there, he knew what they did for a living, how many kids they had, their home address, date of birth, income, and social security number. He had a way with getting people to open up to him and make them feel like they were the most important person in the room. Seth always loved to either embarrass his family or play practical jokes. There's so many, so I'm only giving you one. I can remember this one time during our Hanukkah party. We got together at my parents' house during Hanukkah. We got together at my parents' house for an annual Hanukkah party. Each family member took their turns giving gifts to other family members. It was Seth's turn to give presents to my son, Stephen, who must have been around 6 or 7. So my son opened the present, and it was a Barbie doll and ballet lessons. So my son opened the present. Seth said it was to help him with his balance since he was playing hockey at the time. My son was not having it. He got all rattled. Then Seth gave me my present to open, and it was a remote control car. The present Stephen really wanted. At that point, my son knew it was a joke, and we all had a good laugh. It's a big responsibility to be the older sibling in a family. You pave the way for the rest of the children in the family. Parents are typically stricter. You're supposed to be more mature regardless of your age, and if you're both goofing around, it was always the older brother's sibling's fault. I was definitely that annoying little brother. Of course, there were times that I would get my brother in trouble, even though it wasn't actually his fault. As you know, Seth and I lived in Connecticut for about 10 years before we moved to Evanston. Seth and I did not behave when my parents had company over for dinner. We would fight. I would kick him under the table, and then he'd kick me back, and then we'd start yelling. It got so bad that Seth and I were not even invited to other families' homes for dinner. Now, Dad was up for an amazing opportunity at a great temple in Evanston, Illinois. However, in order for Dad to solidify this job, there were 3, maybe 4 temple members who were coming to dinner. Uh-oh, the Knobel boys need to behave. So what does a good Jewish mother do? Bribe her 2 boys. Seth and I were the most behaved children you would have ever seen at a dinner table. As you know, Dad got his job, and Seth and I got new bikes. As you know, Seth loved to help people. That was even true when he was little. I remember my grandma Gigi took Seth and I to a Yankees game. Seth said he had to go to the bathroom. We must have been 6 or 8 years old. Back then, 8-year-olds were allowed to go to the bathroom without parents or grandparents. It was 15 minutes and still no Seth. It was 20 minutes and still no Seth. Now it's 30 minutes, and my grandmother was starting to get nervous. So she asked the gentleman coming out of the bathroom if he saw a kid about this high, and he said, yes, what a nice young man. He's holding the door for everyone as they enter the bathroom. Even then, he was selfless, and he wanted to be helpful. From when we were little to our high school years, I was always tagging along with whatever Seth was doing. Seth has an easier time making friends than I did. I know it's hard to believe. My college years changed me. Right, Brian? And Steve? But this is not about me. So back to Seth. Many of his friends were my friends. It was not even a question if he was going out with friends. I was always included. In high school, so many of my close friends were my brother's age. They would get together and hang out, and Seth would bring me along, not as an obligation. He took me along because he liked me. I needed him, and he took care of me. He made sure that no one would pick on me, and if they did, they would have the wrath of my brother. As kids, Seth always gave me advice. At least I thought he did. I remember being 13 years old at camp, and I was dating a girl. It was time for that first kiss. There was no internet. There was no social media. There's no videos on how to kiss a girl for the first time. So I asked Seth. He said, turn your head, put your lips on her lips, and then bite her. Oy vey, maybe I should ask somebody else. As many of you know or may not know, Seth was not great with money. He had $1, he would spend it, but usually it was not on himself. It was to benefit family, friends, and clients. Seth had a big heart and he wanted to help, not just with his advice as a therapist, but also financially. I remember he had this one client that had a family member in the hospital. So he goes to the hospital to be with them. The family really struggled to even put food on the table. So of course, Seth used his last few dollars in his wallet to buy them dinner. Did not even think twice about it. Of course, then he asked me for a loan for a few dollars. As his brother, who happens to be good with money, I was happy to help. In reality, this was never a loan. This was always a gift. I never wanted money to become between my brother and me. Bottom line is life took Seth and I in different paths. We got older, our roles changed. I realized not too long after college how awesome a brother he was to me when I was little. And I felt guilty that I wasn't that way to him. So I decided I needed to do whatever I could do to be a better brother to him. He was always there for me, so when he needed anything, I would drop what I was doing to help him. We definitely didn't always see eye to eye, but at some point he realized that he turned to me to be there for him. He started to look up to me and ask me for help. He trusted me to help him with his making decisions. Seth had been through a lot, as I have with the loss of both my parents. He had a much harder time going through the grieving process. And there was not a day that goes by that I don't think about them. Seth was finally getting to a better place in his life. He was starting to work on his physical medical health. Unfortunately, he waited too long, and they caught up to him. I'm so grateful that that he had done for me. I wish I could have been helped him be healthier. Seth, I'll be grateful for being a great big brother when I needed you. Uncle to my kids, Heather and Stephen. And realizing my wife is priceless. One of the last things he texted to me and my wife, I'm happy I was able to, one of the last things he texted to me and my wife, I'm happy I was able to be a great little brother when you needed me. I miss you dearly.
Leah, Alana, Lily, Oliver.
Hello, everyone. I hope all is well. I wish we were seeing each other under better circumstances. I would like to start off by saying that my father was an amazing man and he loved everybody so dearly. He was a friend to many, brother to one, and father to four. The most important thing I would like to say about this service is that he didn't want his death to be a sad one. He told me a few times that his funeral shouldn't be sad, but instead happy. Happy for the memories that we sustained over the years, and not for the ones we didn't get to have. One more thing that he said is that anyone who did end up crying would be haunted for life, so those who have already, good luck with that. I could go on and on about what he did or the memories we had together, but to be honest, that's a little boring, so I'll spare you the details. His life goal was to leave Earth making a positive impact, and I believe he had. There were many kids he worked with he saved from suicide and prevented gang violence. He told me countless stories which ended up quite inappropriate. However, it taught me that you shouldn't care how loud you say things or what other people say. So I wanted to end this speech with saying a few things to my father. I promise to be a great dad someday. I'm sorry that you never got the grandbabies you begged for, even though I'm only 14. I'm sorry you'll never get to see one of my matches in person, though I know you'll be watching over me. I promise that I will make it to states even though JV doesn't go. I promise to always look after my siblings and give them the comfort they need. I'm sorry I didn't know. I would have spent more time with you instead of cooped up in my room. I'm sorry that I won't be there I'm sorry you won't be there for grandchildren's birthdays or bar mitzvahs. I promise to always be kind as I can, even though I don't want to. I'm sorry you won't be able to see me grow up into the young man you wanted me to become. I promise to be easygoing like you were. I could always talk to you about the things I wanted or needed. The impact you left on me and the rest of the world was tremendous. And I hope everybody feels the same. I hope I can be half as good as Dad as you were. I love you to the moon and back, and I always will.
I'm gonna try to get through this without crying, which is what everyone says, but it probably won't happen. Okay. Selfless. 1 word, 8 letters, 1 meaning. Concerned more with the needs and wishes of others than with one's own. Unselfish. If there was only 1 word I could use to describe my father, it would be selfless. My dad always put others before his own thoughts, wants, and needs, even at the risk of sacrificing his own health and well-being. We could talk all day about the work he's done to make a positive impact in others' lives, whether it be through his work as a therapist, social worker, resource to get young kids out of local gangs, or even just as he's touched lives as a dear friend. Even as a father, he's the most selfless person I know. He would do anything for his children. I remember this one time as a toddler where I woke him up in the middle of the night because I wanted the wings cut off of a costume that I had. He didn't complain. He cut the wings off, he tucked me into bed, and that was that. In my 17 years of life, I've never once had to worry about an issue going south because Daddy would always take care of it. And he did. He always did, no matter what it was. If I started to succumb to the pressures of my anxiety, all he had to do was tell me that Daddy would take care of it, and I knew it would be okay. And it is okay, and it will continue to be okay. Because while he might not physically be here with me on earth, I know that he will be watching over me, and I know that Daddy will take care of me even in death. Teacher. 1 word, 7 letters, 1 meaning. A person who helps students to acquire knowledge, competence, or virtue via the practice of teaching. My dad was my life teacher. Here's just a couple lessons he taught me. 1. Patience is key. If you knew my father, you knew fishing. Fishing was his favorite pastime. While I never understood the appeal of sitting around waiting for a fish that may or may not ever come, I realized he found comfort in the still calmness of the water and the wait. I think this speaks to his patient heart and how he practiced his patience in the rest of his life. My dad never raised his voice and never got worked up over an argument. He sat patiently and waited until we were ready. I don't think I ever appreciated this enough. I try to channel my dad's patience when I get in arguments or feel frustrated. While I haven't quite mastered it like him, I like to lead by his example. 2. Never be afraid to be the loudest person in the room. Dad didn't care who was around. He spoke as freely as he pleased. While at the time, I may have wished to never be embarrassed by one of Dad's inappropriate jokes again, I would do anything for him to rise out of that casket and embarrass me in front of everyone here by ripping a classic dad sex joke for us. I promise to never dull myself to please others. My father never did. Life's too short to be living for others. Live for yourself. 3. No matter how far I think I've taken a joke, Dad has 100% taken it further, and there's no need to be embarrassed because if he got over it, so can I. Unconditional love. 2 words, 17 letters, 1 meaning. To love someone no matter what they do. To love someone for who they are, no strings attached. To Dad, my Faji. Despite your flaws, I love you and look up to you. You're human. You won't be perfect, and I didn't expect you to be. I hope you know that. My love for you is not dependent on how well you took care of yourself, how many people you've helped, or even how much tres leches cake you bought me. I love you for your heart and the effort you put in every single day. I'm sorry you never got to live your dreams as a grandpa. I know you would have spoiled them rotten. I already saw your grandfatherly tendencies with Ella, Brody, Evelyn, and Jack. They never shut up about wanting to go fishing with you again. Don't worry, Dad. Oliver and I will take them fishing for you. And I know you'll be there in spirit to send all the little fish our way. You won't be forgotten. I promise my children will never hear me shut up about Grandpa Seth and how much he loves them. I promise to take my kids on cruises and tell them how much you loved your vacations. I promise to carry on your legacy through dirty jokes and embarrassment. I promise to dance like no one's watching and laugh like there's no tomorrow. I promise to take care of Oliver in high school and beyond. I promise to get even closer with Leia and Alana and squeeze them extra tight for you. I promise Leia, Alana, Oliver, and I will take care of each other for you. I'm grateful you got to see all 4 of your children receive the honor of reading Torah at our B'nai Mitzvahs. I know how much religion meant to you. I'm sorry I can't give you one last kiss on the kepper, or to be able to put my ice cream chilled hands on your burning hot forehead. I hope you're somewhere in the afterlife having a glass of wine with Papa, having a slice of cheesecake with Grandma. Give them a hug and kiss for me. Thank you for my life. Thank you for the joy and all the fond memories we share. Thank you for playing cards with me. Thank you for watching Mamma Mia with me and watching me dance and scream, even if it was against your will. Thank you for saying "Bless you, Princess" every time I sneeze. Thank you for being my biggest supporter at all my swim meets and softball games. Thank you for sharing your passions with me. I'm sorry, this is about to be really gross. Hang on. Thank you for being the incredible storyteller I aspire to be. Thank you for taking me on my first college tour, even though you aren't able to see me off for that chapter in my life. I know you'll be watching and cheering me on. Thank you for the love you gave the world. Thank you for the love you left me. Thank you for staying true to yourself. Thank you for giving me my brothers and sisters. And most importantly, thank you for being my father. My love for you will never dim. I love you forever. Rest in peace, Daddy.
Only 2 more. The man was quite busy in his life. To be completely honest, I have always known that this day would come. As children, we become aware that our parents aren't invincible, and they will leave us someday. But I would never have imagined that that day would be today, and that I would be up here at this age having to say goodbye to my father. My dad taught me so much, and I think most importantly, he taught me that parents are people too, and that people make mistakes. And my dad was a really complicated person, and him and I have had a very complicated relationship. Through all of our ups and downs that we have had, there has been one constant factor that has driven us to where we are today, and that is love. My dad loved his kids so much, and he loved being a father, even though sometimes he didn't know how. He always said, you know, I would do anything for my kids. And boy, did he mean it. You know, he helped me follow my dreams by supporting me in New York and housing me when I booked my first contract in Baltimore. And if there was anything that I needed, he provided, no questions asked. In the last few years, my dad and I were really close. We were really good friends, and we would talk like friends, and I was able to see different sides of him that I never knew were there. We talked about life and jobs and Lily and Oliver and Leia, and I would tell him about my dating life, and he would tell me about his, no matter how much I didn't want to hear it. It was only fair. But he became my best friend. My dad gave me my love of music when I first came to him saying that I wanted to start collecting vinyl. He made me take a majority of his own collection in order to start mine. And we started going on trips to record stores. Like whenever I was in town, we would go to a record store in Baltimore. If we were in Chicago, we would go to a record store in Chicago. And he would go around the store and he would find a good album and just plop it in my hands and say, yeah, you need this one. But he taught me what to look for, what to listen to, and how to inspect the vinyl before you purchase it so it's not warped. And it was my favorite activity to do with him. I have a pretty kick-ass collection all due to him right now. So thank you for that. Thank you, Dad, for being there when I needed you, for being a shoulder to cry on. Thank you for teaching me how to laugh. I will now formally accept the family role as comic in your honor and only say a few inappropriate jokes at family gatherings. Don't blame me, guys, it's still him. So I know there might be an argument of who's going to take over the comic, but we all know it's me. So I'm sorry that we didn't have more time together. I would give anything in the world right now to hug you and hear you laugh again. I know, even though that you won't believe it, that you were the best dad because you raised 4 amazing kids who love you no matter what. Thank you for being my dad and making me the woman that I am today. I love you. Had I known my siblings were such great speechwriters, I would have gone first. There has been an incredible amount of loss for our family over the last 5 years. Unfortunately, this heavy feeling is not a new one, but it does feel a lot different. My father spent his life following his passion for helping people. As a social worker, he took incredible pride in the work he did and knowing he was able to help so many people through difficult times in their lives. His clients got to see his serious side. However, as we all know, and as we've heard today, Dad was the funny man. I don't think anyone in this room hasn't laughed at one of his many jokes. A few years ago, we digitized our home videos, and this past week I've been watching them, and it has reminded me of one of my favorites. So even though Jamie shared it with you, I'm going to share it a little different. So if you don't mind indulging me, we're going to do it with a little bit of audience participation. I'm going to say the first line, and I will point at you, and you will say, "What comes next?" Also try to imagine I'm 4, because that's how he would get me to say this to people. Okay, ready? Are we ready? Yes. Okay. 3 naked ladies walk into a bar. What comes next? I don't know. My daddy says I'm not old enough. I guess we'll never get the end of that joke. I wasn't old enough. And to be honest, I'm still not old enough. To my siblings, I am forever thankful that I have you by my side and that he gave you to me. I promise that I will remain your champion, your cheerleader, and your confidant, as I know Dad would want it. Moving forward will be the hardest challenge we have faced yet, but I know we will have each other, and that makes me feel a little better. Dad, I'm gonna miss the way you were always a phone call away. Even if we were mad at each other, you would always be there when I needed you. Consistently championing all of us kids from the sidelines. I'm so grateful you got to see Alana perform and be nominated for 2 Broadway World Awards. And I don't know if voting has closed or not yet, but he would want me to say, go vote for her. Lily be the president of her BBYO chapter as a sophomore. And Oliver win his first wrestling meet. And I will forever be grateful that you got to see me fall in love. I will carry the lessons you taught with me. I will continue to lead with kindness, and the world will follow. I love you.
a countercultural request to everyone here in the room and everyone on live stream. Today or tomorrow or this weekend, in the next few days before you forget to do it, take your favorite or just story that you like of Seth, or something he showed you or taught you, or a moment, maybe when you were kids or adults or you watched him as a kid, and write it down. Don't text it. You can email it. You can write a letter. You can send it to any member of the family so they can share with others, so that these 4 amazing children can come back to these words and these stories and recollections and life lessons again and again and again. Give them that gift. Everyone else too, but especially for these kids. Jewish tradition teaches that we best honor the memory of our loved ones when we live their words and their deeds through our own. We step back and turn to the enduring lessons of Seth Knobel's life. Kindness, helping others, laughing, loving the people important to you, making a difference in our world. May we take these lessons. May we bring them into our own, and may we name that Seth impacted us in his life. Even if you're telling a really inappropriate joke, say, Seth gave it to me. But the kindness, in particular, our world can use a heck of a lot more. So let's live that example powerfully. Zichrono levracha, may Seth's memory be for a blessing. We say it together. Amen. Take time to talk, for you may ask of all things unknown to you. Take time to laugh, for smiles relinquish sorrow and spread happiness. Take time to think, for the realm of knowledge is never ending. Take time to see, for there is beauty in every part of the world around you. Take time to feel, for the emotions of your heart often control the reasoning of your mind. Take time to live, for each day is filled with new opportunities that will be gone tomorrow. Take time to dream, for the survival is forever challenging the powers of your imagination. Take time to love, for sharing of all these things is the miracle of life. We rise either in body or in spirit for El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim shochen bamromim hamsei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina im kedoshim uktorim kezohar harakia mazhirim et nishmat shet ben Tzvi v'yenta Mendel shehach leholamo ba'al harachamim yastirehu b'seter knafav leholamim Bitzror hachayim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Seth Allen Knobel, our loved one who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us say.
Ladies and gentlemen, the interment service will continue at Memorial Park Cemetery, located at 9900 Grosse Pointe Road here in Skokie. The Shiva will continue here at the chapel following the interment till 6 p.m. memorial contributions to the Rabbi Peter and Elaine Knobel Soup Kitchen at Beth Emet. That information is on the service folder. For those of you who are joining us online, all that information can be found on the funeral home's website. Also, the complete funeral service that has been recorded will be on the website in approximately 1 hour. For those of you who will be driving in the funeral procession to the cemetery, the procession will be forming in our parking lot. Please obtain an orange safety funeral sticker to place on the right-hand side of your windshield. Have your bright lights and hazard lights on at all times. For additional measures of safety, we will be providing a car in the back of the procession to hopefully keep other cars from entering the procession. Please use your horn liberally as you're going through the intersection, and please do not speak or text on your cellular phone while driving to the cemetery. At this time, I'd like to call upon the pallbearers that have been asked to serve to please come forward and stand next to Seth's casket as we all rise, and we'll escort the casket of Seth Allen Knobel along with his family and the rabbi from the chapel. Then you may return to your cars.